So in my last video, I showed you how to create a item drops, and in the video before that, I showed you how to create a GUI. Now in this video, I want to show you how to basically get those item drops and put them into your GUI and destroy the item. So as you see here, we have the item drops. I'm just gonna make a couple of them. So what I want to do here is I want to grab the item with our add button. And as you see in the GUI, it added it to here. If I grab this item as well, you'll see that these items are adding into the GUI for our names list. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that and the project we've been working on. So I have our project open here. Let me close my other project. So I have the project open here. What we first want to do is we're going to go to our drop script that we created last time. The first thing I'm going to do is create a function that kind of randomizes the drops here. So we can go to our player script that we made a few videos ago on the items list for the GUI, and we can just copy and paste these into our new drop script. And this is where we're going to be storing our items from now on. And then we're going to also go into icon, and we're going to just set this one equal to item underscore 07. And then we're going to set the icon for the other one to a different item, just so we can have some variance here. And their names will in the GUI will just be this and the broadsword. They're not actually related to the icon, so we could do that. But right now we're just going to do it for the sake of quickness. We're just going to set this one to 05, just so we have two different items dropping. And down here in the sprite.play flipbook, first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a randomizer. So I have a little script I wrote down here. So we're going to set a variable called self.item. And this is going to contain the items list up here. And we're going to grab hash to make an item, and then we're going to grab a random math.random of 2, which is going to be the length of the hashes. So if we have 3 items, that will be 3, and so on. And then we'll just put self.item.icon here. So self.item.icon. So it's going to be self.item, which is going to be one of these. So it's either going to be broadsword or dagger, and then we're going to look in the list for icon. So yeah, then that will set a random drop essentially. So let's just control build and see what we got right now. So I press C and I kill my character. And as you see, we have 2 different drops happening. Yeah, we have 2 different swords dropping. So that works for me. And then we're going to need to go to our drops game object, and we're going to add a collision object. And we're going to add a shape, which is going to be a box. And we can scale this box down to the size of the item icon, which should work fine. And then we'll go to our collision object and we'll make the type, we'll call this trigger. And then we'll call this group drops. And then we'll call the mask player. We might have to change that in a sec. We got to go to our main collection, go to our player, go to the collision object. And then this group is capital player, so we'll change that in a second. So we'll call the second part, we'll call this drops, and the mask, so that'll be the objects it can interact with. And we'll go to the game object, and we'll change this to the capital player. And now we can have collision events between the two. So if we go to the drop script and we go down to on message, we can get rid of updates, fix update, that's fine. And then on input, we can also get rid of this, everything else. And we'll go to the on message and we'll just print the message just to see what happens, to make sure that we're getting that collision response we're looking for. We'll just go message Just print the message to see if we have a message on the drop. And for some reason we do not. So let's see. So we should have a trigger response. Let's just make sure that everything's all right. So we have drops, and then we have the mask player. Then on the player we have drops, player. Let's just check this out again. Just call the mask drops. We can get rid of obstacles for now. And then we'll go back to our drops game object. Make sure it's a trigger event. So our group is drops and the other group is player. We should be fine. We should have some type of trigger event. Let's just try a different route here. We'll go hash trigger response. Just print high. All right, so we have no trigger response, and I couldn't tell you why. Let's make sure our player has a hitbox and all that too. All right, so looks like our collision box is not on top of our player, so for some reason. So I'm just gonna move that. And now we should have a trigger response. We have trigger events on. Let's make sure we have trigger events on here too. And we do. So let's edit this one more time. We'll just go print message. All right, now we have our message here, which is fine. It's a collision response. I don't know why we're colliding with anything, but we do have the trigger response that we're looking for, so we can go ahead and finish everything else we're doing. So as you can see, we can see high down here. The next thing we're going to do is, let me just open up my notepad again. So we need this, we're going to post messages to the player to create to tell the player what object it is, and we're going to assign that to a variable in the player. So we're going to say, if message ID equals trigger response, then message in the message is msg.enter. So whenever the trigger response equals enter, so message.enter, then we'll post it to the player character, and we'll post this message can pick up, which you can make it say whatever you want to. And then we're going to post self.item, which is going to post whichever list it is. So it'll either be the broadsword list with all these things in it, or the dagger list with everything in it. And so now that we have that, and then we're also going to post a message can't pick up. That'll just tell the player it can't pick up anything. There's no item there. And then we have this message ID. So when we get a message back from the player that says we picked up the item, destroy it, then we're going to post to ourselves, and we're just going to disable ourselves. So we can go back to the player script, and now all we need to do is we can get rid of this, the items list, it's fine. And then we can go on message, and we're going to look to put something extra in on message. So we'll just move this down. So on message, we'll just get rid of message ID. We're going to say we're going to let the character know we're going to need 3 variables. So we're going to need the pickup. If we can pick up, we're going to set it to true. If we can't pick up, we'll set it to false. And then we'll say the pickup item. Right now it equals empty. We'll assign the item here once we have a pickup item, and then we'll assign the sender here. So we're just going to Control C, and I'm going to post them up in my initialize function. So we have these 3 variables, if we can pick up, and then what the item is, and then who the sender is, because we're going to have different instances of objects, so we need to know what instance the sender is. And then we'll go down to the onMessage script, and we're going to need to create a response to the messages we're sending from the item. So we'll say, you know, if the message ID is can pick up, then we're going to say that we can pick up. We're going to set self.pickup equals true. We're going to set the pickup item to the message. In our drop script, we send the self.item as the message, so it will be the list right here. And then we'll say self.pickup equals sender, which we can add sender here. That's one of the default on message function as message ID self, message ID message sender. And then so now that we have this sender, we can also go down to the action that we assign to add to our item. And we can just get, we're just going to say table.insert self.pickupitems. That's going to be our inventory for our local inventory on the player. So I'm going to just copy and paste this in here, and then we'll go over it. So when we use the add function, which is the interact function essentially for us, we're going to insert inventory.items, our pickup item. So we're going to add that to our inventory, our local inventory that we set up right here. This isn't really necessary. You can store it on the GUI as well, but if you want it local on the player, you can do that. And then we're going to add to the inventory item names, and then we're going to self.pickupitem. And then we're going to msg.post self.pickupsender to destroy. So our pickup sender will be this script, and then we'll just, when we receive destroy, then we'll post to our self disable. Alright, so let's see what happens when we run this, see if we have any errors here. So we have an error that says error found when set text. So we need to go to our, we guess we do need our inventory script here. So let's just take a look and see what our inventory script is receiving. So we got the if at message ID equals hashtag items names. Let's look. And table.insert inventory, and then we'll go and we set everything. We set the text to self.name. So what I realized was I accidentally had player character written here instead of player. That fixed everything, and now when I run the script, and I press C and I press B, and I have the broadsword inserted, and then if I pick up the other, so if I just create another one, yeah, so that's what fixed it. Everything else works. And yeah, so now you have a pickup that goes straight into your inventory and that works. One other thing that might throw you off too, that I also forgot to change, that I added to our pickup script, and self.pickup equals true. So those are the two things I had missed. This isn't as important. It will just throw an error when you press pickup when there isn't a pickup available. So anyways, hopefully that helped you create a pickup script, and thanks for watching.